Okay, so now getting back to our previous example, we had this let's learn about always on top, and promises, callbacks, and async await can happen in any different order. So now callbacks is on top, async is in the middle, promise at the bottom, and that's all to do with callbacks. So let's quickly have a look at that code. So star.js is this code here. So what we ultimately want is we want to run this code in a specific order. First we want to do callbacks, after that we want to say promises, and after we want to do that's async await. And that's what we're doing, but because this code is using callbacks, there's no guarantee in the order. So what we'll need to do is we will need to change this code to do something like this. So what I'm doing here is I'm calling it and I'm saying that I've ultimately want to first display callbacks, after that I want to display promises, and after that I want to display async await. So the thing that you'll note here is that we're calling the callbacks inside of each other now. So that in the callback function of callbacks, I'm calling promises, and inside of the callback function of promises, I'm calling async await. And what we should see now, if we run this code, the order should always be consistent. So if I run this code now, callbacks, promises, async await, callback, promises, async await. So you'll see now that ultimately now things are in order. Callbacks are first, promises second, and async await is last. And let's learn about is always on top, even though it's at the bottom. Just showing us that this code runs first, then after that callbacks will run one after the other. So if you want callback functions to run in a certain order, the important thing to remember is that you need to put them inside of each other. In this case, first callbacks, then in the callback function of callbacks we have promises, and inside of promises we have async await. So now what we want to do, we want to use this knowledge to create the report that we spoke about earlier. So we want for our category, we want the ability to create a report that looks like this. So what I want to do is I want to copy this, and I am going to create a new function here, a new file, which I'm going to say here create report.js. For the time being, I'm going to call it that. I'm going to say function create report. I'm going to do something like that, and I'm going to copy this into my function, and then I'm going to put this in here. So just for the time being, I'm going to put this in a little report here. Const. I'm going to say this is a daily report, I think. Daily report. So I'm just putting this string into a function. So these things ultimately needs to be parameters, but for the time being I'll just put this in here, and then we will need to say, okay, how are we going to go about creating this report? For this report we'll need to run some queries. So the queries we need to run is in the readme file. So we're going to need to run these 3 queries. So the first iteration of our report we're going to be using callbacks. So if I'm going to, where's my function, I'll create report. So I'll put these queries in here. So what we need to do to run this would be, so let's just go in here. Then I will, for the time being, I will basically, we will need this code. So for now, just to keep it simple, I'm going to put everything in here. So we're going to say create report, create a pool like this. So what we'll need to do is initially we will need to run a query on db pool. So db pool dot query, and the first thing we will have 3 kittens arriving on Monday. So in this report what I want to do is we basically want to pass something in here, week, day. So what I want for the first report is I will need to run something similar to this. So I need to run this query. So I'm going to copy this here, and then the way we pass parameters into this PostgreSQL driver for node is something like this. So I'll say select count for weekday, and then what I'll need to pass in here is weekday, so that's a parameter coming in, and then I have my callback here, which will be in a similar format than before. So we have error, and then we have weekday count, which I'll do something like this. Okay, I'll just call this result for now. Okay, so now if I run this, so let's see. So if I run this function, and then let's see how we do this. So I say here weekday, then I get a result for the time being. We say console.log, we say result.rows. So let's do that, and what I will do for now is let me run this report, create report, and I'll run this for Monday, and I'll run this for create report. I'll also run this for Tuesday. Okay, maybe different days. Let's just say, let's start for Friday. Let's see if there's any cats coming in on Friday. So now, running this report, I will need to go here and I will need to clear the screen. And I would just say node create report.js. Okay, so the first day, there's no. So for Monday, there's no seeming. Now we can't really see which one we're running for. So let's add something on here. Let's add weekday there. So let's see which day we're getting results for. Run that. For Monday, there's 3. Friday. You can already see again that these things are running in different orders. So it's running Monday, Friday, Control C, Monday, Friday. So looking at that, so now we're getting results here. Monday is 3, Friday there's nothing. So in that sense, so that's our first query now we've now run. We basically can now create the first part. We have 3 kittens arriving on the specific day. For the next one, we'll need to run this query where the duration is longer. So we need to send in a duration. So we basically now want to say on a Monday, is there any kittens that stay longer than 3 days? On a Friday, is there any kittens that stay longer than, let's say, I don't know, 5 days. So running that, so what we'll do now is again we'll need to run a query. So I'm going to copy this we just did. So now select star from weekday. So I'm going to copy, no, this is not this one. We want this duration one. So we want to have this one. So now we need to run this query. And this time around, I'm still going to do $1. This time the parameter that comes in is duration. So now, this is not for weekday. This one is actually for duration. So let's just say duration. I suppose it's also for weekday. So let's see if we run it something like this. What does it do? So if I run that, okay, so now we go for Friday. The count is 0. Monday, staying longer than that, the count is 8. Friday, Monday. So what is that count? Okay, the count 8. Let's look at that query. So the counts where weekdays, so where duration is greater than 3. So this is a number of kittens that's staying where the duration is longer than 3 days. So that seems that's cool. Let's see what we have in the database. So we have 12 kittens, and then when we run this, our last query, let's see, Control V, duration bigger than 4, there's 5, 3, so that's the one we ran. So there was 3, there were so many kittens. So looking at here, there's no kittens for Friday, There are some for Thursday, so let's change our queries in here for. Let's change this to Thursday. It's running that. Okay, I don't want to run that. I want to run this one here now. Create the report. So for Thursday, there's 2. Monday, there's 8, 3. Thursday, 5. There's 4 kittens that stay longer than 4 days. So now the last query we need to run is actually the one that just counts the general. This last one, and we have 13 kittens booked for the week. So that's just the total amount of kittens that's been booked in. So let's look at this. So now I'm going to run the last query, which is this one. Got no parameters. So it's a bit like, in a way, it's just that one. So they count from kittens. There's no parameter coming in. So now when we run this one, there's no parameters. Weekday duration. I mean, it's almost like we don't need anything here. So let's just add something here, and we want to say now total for the week. Okay, so now we run that. So if I run that, let's have a look. Okay, total for the week. Okay, again, so now I'm not total for the week, rows dot first row, and give me the count. So let's have a look. Run that. Okay. Rows. Total for the week is 12. Okay, so now I've got everything working well. So we've got run of 3 queries. They are all looking good. So the one bit of a challenge we have now is how do I get the results for each call so that I can use them together. So now you will note that result only lives here. So the detail for our first query lives here. For our second query, it lives in here. And the second query lives in here. And there's like no way that we can easily get to that data. So what we'll need to do now is we need to find a way for us to get to all of this data so we can ultimately build this string. Because currently we have the data, but it's all in this function where the scope of this data is only line 17, this one is only line 21, 22, and this one is only these ones. So we need to find a way to share this data so we can create a screen and create a report like what we have had up here.